that I upload music to about many things that I love, many things that I like, whether it's video games, My Little Pony, Five Nights at Freddy's, and just make songs about whatever, including original songs as well. So this panel is mostly kind of like a place for you kind of like to ask me questions about production, and also a panel to show new stuff that I'm working on still that I want to showcase while we do this panel. Right off the bat, I'll just explain very quickly about stuff that people ask me often is how long is I've been making music? It's like I've been making music for 7 years or so, 8 years. I can't count anymore. And I work mostly with just a laptop, a mouse, and a keyboard, and that's it. And I don't have any like fancy equipment when it comes to having sound cards and stuff like that. The sound card that I have like at home is like a Focusrite, like one with a lot of inputs and outputs. But for the most part, I work with this little thing. Just work with FL Studio, and that's it. And that's basically much it. And I also recently started to work with a SNES controller when I work on music, but that's mostly when I don't have as much space to work on the keyboard. So what I do, I map all the different shortcuts with the keyboard to different buttons on the SNES controller. So that way it's much more, sometimes it frees more of the process when it comes to reaching to certain panels. So first, let me just begin really quickly about just showing a new thing that I'm working on. It's actually an original song, which is a first. And hold on, let me lower the volume first, just to make sure that I'm not going to explode in people's ears. Maybe I should use the microphone, I don't know, maybe it's convenient. Oh, there you go. Should be fine, okay. So, this is an original song. The song was made over like a year and a half ago, based on an original concept about making something similar to what if you guys seen the, what's it called? I forgot. It's like a music video. Oh yeah, Mr. Skull's Ghost. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
So, kind of like the same idea that there's in a song, and then there's an entire story behind the music video. And I, even before the video came out, I also had this idea to make something similar. So this is basically an original concept where it's like, the animation is done by Brian Krazak, and he has been like for over a year and a half been working on this animation, and it's almost done. It should be done very soon. And once it's done, I'll upload it to the masses and everything. So you guys get to see the first preview of that. It's pretty exciting. Should be here. That's working. Perfect. All right, let's see that stuff.
Guns are truly passing.
Yeah, so there's still like a couple of more scenes added up to that, but it's almost done. Did you guys like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so so if you notice the lead vocalist in this one is Ali Monti from Dying of Fire. I asked her to do the vocals for this one after I tried many times to look for like a good vocalist to accompany that singing style in this song and everything, and that was something that took me a while to figure out. Again, this song is like something that was made a long time ago, but it took a process just to make the music video and the song itself. So right now it's 1 p.m. like 6 minutes in, so let's do like a quick kind of like Q&A session. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask anything. Well, anything that is I can talk about, because I don't know too many things in life, but that's fine. All right, go over there.
What was a personal high point that for yourself in your career?
I have to admit that when the Discord remix, when I made the remix of Discord, my channel, at that point like it was interesting how things kind of like collapsed on one another. Because what happened after the Discord remix, I was approached by the Brownie documentary to do a segment for them, and I also was approached to do so many things in the same time. And that was a big highlight for me to see like how it feels to suddenly, be like a bedroom musician and just doing things on my own. And I'm still like doing this thing where I still make music in my bedroom, but there's more to that suddenly. And then at that point I realized that what I do actually pushes people, to make music but also enjoy music. And that was when I realized that things are actually serious in my career. Great question. You over there.
How has Dasha been?
Dasha?
Yeah, when you made Good Girl.
She's been doing good. It's just that ever since The Good Girl, we wanted to make another song, but she was actually doing really well on her own. She's actually, recently been able to kind of like move to Sweden and actually work with people over there and do some really amazing stuff. Which means that, well, I sometimes seldomly talk to her. It's just that she's very busy and she's usually not that much into it. If you guys know the song "Good Girl" with Dasha and stuff, so yeah, it's a very that was a weird. It's like witnessing a comet happening, because what happens is that the song was created, but I didn't have anyone in mind to perform it and sing it. And when I reached out to Dasha and Robbie Fair, who helped me produce this song, I'm very happy this song came out just the way it is, and that the right people were doing the right thing for that song, because I will never have something amazing like this ever again. Maybe, I don't know, it's just very hard to compose something like this. Next song, you over there.
What was who was your favorite artist to either work with or do a remix of?
I'll start with the work with one first. I had a lot of fun working a lot with Wooden Toaster back in the day when things were a bit more open and doing a lot of songs with them. But I guess it really depends. Right now my current go-to guy is the guy who helped me create the Dying of Fire and It's Been So Long. He's the guitarist behind the 2 tracks. And those songs I explicitly worked at his apartment instead of my own, and basically it was pretty much in tune half the time. So it's I made a segment, and he was literally there telling me, look, I can add something to that part and do something like that. And add more stuff onto it, so it was much more collaborative than any of my works before. And favorite one to remix is I don't know. I guess every track that I remixed was pretty much an experience, and it was fun to remix. But I don't have any particular favorites in my head. I guess I could say the Discord, the remix of Discord was fun because it brought things together and brought me a lot of attention, so I can focus on making more stuff as well. So there's that. Minecraft guy.
Do you ever find that there are times where your work is more frustrating than fun? And when you do, what do you do to sort of put yourself back in the mood?
Play video games. Because half the time, I get what you're saying. Because half the time, I always feel I don't always feel let's imagine this is my workspace, and imagine this desktop is not as messy. I open FL Studio, I'm I don't want to work anymore. I'm not, like, you look at the screen and I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? It's a blank canvas, and at the time you don't know exactly what you want to work on. So, which is why I just play video games or do something that's, you know, that has some, you know, it's like you watch something and you get inspired. If it inspires you, then sometimes you get like a crazy idea from it. But half the time, it's I'm not working. I'm actually doing other things, so I can like get myself, you know, to miss back the days that I used to work and kind of like get myself back into it. Because when you work a lot, you start to get bored of it. But if you play a lot of other stuff, you get bored of it, and then you go back to work. If that makes sense. I don't know. It's kind of like a mind game and stuff. You over there, 20% color. You go.
Alright. So, what's your favorite VST?
Citrus on FL Studio.
Oh.
But besides that, I also work with not just Citrus, Massive sometimes. Massive is a good plugin. And overall, just finding random like effects, sets and channels and stuff like that you can find for free, like some compressors and some extenders and limiters and whatever. You can like find stuff that you can find for free and stuff. Yoga.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. I know that you did some songs for Ezreal. How was that?
That was interesting because when I knew first of Edward like a long time ago, and I used to talk to him like before he passed away, and I used to kind of like always discuss with him about doing stuff with him or something like that. But after he's gone, it's like Tomska was the one who reached out to me and basically told me, hey, we want to do something about Edward. I'll get you to talk to someone else that would ask for you to make the music. And it was like a big production scale where it's like you had like an assistant director who was asking for everything, and Tomska was the director with the script and everything. And that's kind of like how the process went. It felt more like an actual like big full-blown production rather than anything else. But for the most part, it's just like, can you make me this? Yeah, make that, and just back and forth and pretty much pretty simple, pretty straightforward. There wasn't any kind of complications. Any more questions? Yeah. Over there.
How do you get ideas for your Five Freddy songs?
Just besides playing the game, especially if you're gonna like look into the story behind the games and everything, and the lore especially. That's where I would look into it and I'm like, this is fascinating, and I could definitely see myself making a song about, making a song about the story of the game rather than the game itself. Because the game itself is pretty, simple. It's like you're just sitting there and you're pushing a few buttons and making sure that you don't die. But the story is kind of like what kept me through and kind of like making something interesting behind the series and the games. And kind of like bringing my own kind of like 2 cents about what I think could happen. It's like a what if moment. So all the 3 songs are like my own theories based on the thing, but it's not supposed to be canonical or serious by any fashion. Because yeah. Hope that helped. Questions? Any more questions? You over there. Yeah, you.
So when you came out with songs like your remixes, because I know you've been making if I say this is your song. Like when you came out with the remixes of Discord and Sorry Jack and like any of the French Kiss Witchcraft songs, I know that a lot of people were like fighting which one was better, which one was the actual original when those things came out. But now that you're coming out with original music and you're like targeting a group more, are you happy you're doing that so people aren't like fighting and enjoying what you made for yourself?
I thought for a second you were about to say like, okay, so people assume that the remix is sometimes the original, and it's like, I'm making original music, oh, this is a remix. It's like, that actually happened with the Five Nights at Freddy's songs, because well, true, I've been making remixes for a long time, and when these songs came out, I was like, oh, this is a very cool remix. It's like, that's not a remix, I'm sorry. So regarding that, well, I'm not gonna, it might sound cheap to say that, I enjoy music regardless of like how to make them and everything, even if it's a remix or an original. But I guess for me, and you could be right, it's like when making like original music, especially after doing one thing for so long, it's like, it's really, it's refreshing to suddenly start like a new blank slate and trying to do new stuff. So it is very like exciting, but it's also very scary because you're basically letting people, okay, this is no longer my idea. Sorry, this is no longer someone else's idea. It's my idea now, and I hope you guys will enjoy my ideas based on what I have. Good question. Any more questions? You over there.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering if you had any advice for the people who are like just starting out and would like to do their own remixes or produce music and do stuff like that.
Yeah. Some advice about making remixes and original songs is, first of all, you know, I guess you know, start out small when it comes to making any kind of music in general. Like just like either try to sing by yourself and envision ideas first, like or either pick an instrument, just write some stuff or something. Because the second you see this screen is the most boring process ever in mankind make music ever. Because the thing is that there's so much technical stuff that happens around, you know, what are mixers, what are, you know, patterns, what are, you know, effects channels and everything. And explaining everything, even in one panel, in 1 hour, it's kind of like, you know, really, really hard to do. And I'm not saying, and what I'm saying is that this is kind of like, because it's so scary to look at this screen and especially if you don't know what's going on, and be like, how am I supposed to make music if I don't understand this? So what I advise for the most part is start with just ambition, just kind of like get songs and ideas first, and then be like, all right, and then slowly get into, you know, whatever software you want to start working with, and just getting more and more tips. I guess the best tip I can give is check YouTube a lot. YouTube is like an amazing source of information because everything you see is like, it's kind of like what you see is what you get. So half the time you see whatever the guy's trying to produce, and you're figuring out like based on what he's trying to do, and that's really easy. To just follow steps what the one is doing, and then you learn your own steps. So that's kind of it. Just try it. Like it's just a very scary thing, and trying to get through it is like, you know, very hard. But once you get through it, it's like it's really cool to know that you can make music. You can call yourself, you know, a producer because you actually do stuff like that. Any more questions? You in the back, and yeah, you in the back.
What song do you feel are more of
I kind of answered like Discord remix, but I guess I could also say like Five Nights at Freddy's, the first track, because of the fact that it was a very quick, you know, I don't know. I guess the process that was involved in making that song was interesting because it was, you know, scary at the time to kind of like figure out, you know, because I think I was the first one to come up with an idea for making a Five Nights at Freddy's song, and it's kind of scary to kind of like push yourself and make something that other people haven't figured out yet. Sorry, and that's, I guess that's kind of the thing. I don't know. I guess it's just proud of this song. So yeah, one more question and I'll show you something new that I'm working on. Are you over there?
What song did you have the most fun making?
Good Old Days.
Oh,
From the Multi-Pony, back when I was doing a lot of Multi-Pony songs. That's so much fun because, bless you, because of, it was fun because of the, you know, at that time I was like, you know, it was hard to make music and just keep doing stuff, and it was only at that time where I made like my 4th or 5th song after a long time of also having an hiatus with myself, just stop making music for a long time, and then after, you know, doing that song, I was like, oh my god, everything just flows so naturally, everything's like swing, everything's so happy and great, and it just took me like within 2 or 3 days to come up with this song and everything. It was fun. All right, so we're gonna take a pause a bit from questioning, and like I'll resume this very soon. I'm gonna show you a new stuff that I'm working on. I'm working on technically 2 new stuff right now. I'm working on a remix of True Survivor from Kong Fury, and I'm also working on a song about Splatoon that I've been like forever and ever kind of like trying to make this happen properly. So okay, so I'm gonna show these and eventually like both of them. No wait, no. I'm gonna show one of them, and I'll show the next one like later in this panel. So which one do you want to listen first?
Kong Fury.
Oh, Kong Fury. Everyone who wants to hear Kong Fury, raise your hand right now.
All right, so I guess it's my too.
Yeah, it's pretty much a no-brainer. But anyway, so the Splatoon's one, I'll explain it really quickly, just what's going on in this song. It's supposed to be like an original song, but there are no technically vocals. There's no vocals to speak of because the way I see it is that in the Splatoon world, in Incopolis or whatever it's called, there's like a fictional language that they talk and sing in. So I wanted to come up with something that's like that, where it's like there's no actual lyrics, it's just melodies and just music like that. So this is what I got worked on.
So it's like KK Slide.
Kind of. I guess that's the best thing to name that thing. So it should be pretty interesting. Repeats itself because the idea is that it's supposed to like have different visuals and that. You guys like it?
Yeah.
So this is still in the works because right now I'm also trying to push the music video to also come out and to kind of like get work with it. So this is just a long process. I like when the game came out, I wanted the song to come out pretty much sooner, so it would be like very close to the release, but it's gonna take more time. So okay, let's just resume the Q&A. So like if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask. Let's see if there's anyone new. But you know what, sure.
Is there any song you want to go back and rework, revamp, you know, put a new twist on it?
Nope. Well, that's because I usually, like, if I finish a song, it's done. Like, I usually would like to continue and making stuff then instead. It's just that it's, you know, I'd rather, you know, make new stuff and just try to improve and try to combine with new stuff rather than just revisit old stuff. I might do that maybe with September just because I love that song and I want to like to add another verse and do more with the song because the composition is so much fun. But I'll do probably something about that once the time comes or something.
That's something that like Zero Wolf and I be talking about this. There will be times where we will be like talking about music and Zero and I will both be thinking about our music. I wish I could go back and change this because there's so many times where so many people like me and Cyril will get music. Okay, this song's good enough. I'm sick of it. I'm getting tired of this. I'm working so far. Let's let it go. And then once you listen to it again while it's on YouTube, it's like, oh, I could have changed that. But you seem very confident with that.
Yeah, I mean, because it's well, I'll admit there are some songs that I'm pretty much, you know, you know, very not confident about it, and I'm like, I'm so, you know, I feel bad that this is still out on YouTube, but then again, I'm not at fault here, because I made this at the time when I thought I was doing the right thing, and I thought you know, the music the way I wanted it. Like, some good examples like Sister 8, like this one song that I think is pretty cringeworthy, like now, but back in the day it was like, this is the right thing to do. This was like the thing that made sense to me. But now listening to it now, it's like, it sounds broken, the lyrics don't make much sense, and even the song Magic, for example, and I don't know, there's like songs that are sometimes kind of like, not mistakes, just things that are not supposed to be there. And it was at that time when you think you're doing the things like you wanted, and then it will only take you a couple of months to realize that you were doing something a bit weird or a bit wrong with that, but you're not going to be mad at it. It's going to be like, it's there. Let's continue making the new song or something. That's my mantra in general when it comes to all this kind of stuff. Any more questions? You have them.
What is your like goal for the channel?
I'm sorry?
What's your goal for the channel?
Oh, what's my
Next goal.
I guess just trying to, like, whenever just music in general, just like everything that's gonna be like in like a new format or a new something in my channel, it always has to do with music or listening to something. Like, I don't want my channel to involve too much in side projects or stuff that nobody cares about. It's more like, there's a new song, a new remix, a new idea of something, I want to upload it on the channel and just put it there so people can enjoy something. Because, you know, I care about my fans, and I know my fans came because I make music, and that's why I'm just putting as much stuff that I can that I think seems quality. It seems like good. And that's basically it. Any more questions? Yes.
You said, of course, since you're here, you're also a gamer. What is your favorite genre of game? Like, if you have one.
I have a couple. First-person shooters, MOBA sometimes, and shmups, and arcade games in general. Just emulating whatever's like, you know, like Neo Geo games and stuff like that. Because Neo Geo is expensive. I mean, now it's not as much, but it's like, for me, it's like playing Neo Geo games on the go is like one of my favorite pastimes, because those, especially Metal Slugs, because those are very like quick games to boot and just, you know, roll way through it. And yeah. Yeah.
Spaghetti. What's your inspiration behind it?
What, spaghetti?
Spaghetti.
Well, what's the inspiration?
Yeah.
Well, there's no inspiration. It just drops from my pants like nothing. It's like asking, like, do you have inspiration for inspiration right now? There's spaghetti. Just right now. Just rolling from my pants right now. You don't see it because it's all covered. It's a sequel. Well, maybe. If it's sequel, then there will be spaghetti. But that's my inspiration. that's a weird question. I don't know how to retort to that. It's like spaghetti. Spaghetti. Alright, let's do one more question, and then I'll review the new remix that I'm working on. Let's see. So yeah, you over there.
Does any of your inspiration come from video games, since you work with the computer?
So the question is like, if
Yeah, like, are you inspired by video games to make music on the computer? Like, I don't know how to explain this.
no, yeah, I gotta go. It's like if video games kind of like inspire me in a sense to make music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does, for the most part, because of the music within those video games, especially if you play older games, like where there's much more reliance on crazy melodies and stuff happening, you know, in those games. Especially like if you even if you count Super Mario for the most part, because those games have a lot of, you know, theme songs to them, and that's kind of like a big inspiration for me. Because if in a video game you listen to the same track like over 4 or 5 times in one level, for example, and you never get bored of it, that's because the musician did something right. And that's kind of my inspiration, just to make music that doesn't sound annoying after 5 to 6 times to listen to them. If it annoys me, then it's like, nope, I don't want to work on this, I'm sorry. Alright, so I'll review the new thing. So right now I'm working on the remix of True Survivor. I actually, what I'll do is pretty interesting. I'm working on 2 versions of this. Because the way I do music nowadays is that As you can see, there's the name and there's this prod, which is means for production. And with that, there's a number. The number means that there's a new revision. Like every time that I make something and it doesn't work, I save that project file, but I try to do it from scratch and try a different genre or a different idea. Because you're gonna hear this remix sounding different from the other version that I had before. Because I tried to do different approaches with this thing. I might actually play some stuff with FNAF, Die in a Fire that might be interesting to listen to, because I had so many different versions and ways to come about with the song and everything. That might be interesting to listen to. What if it happened like this? So let's start. That's one. I'm gonna play the other one that it's totally different than this one. So you guys like just gonna see like, hold on, where is it? Here it is. So the two versions sound completely different. That's only because it was like, maybe this doesn't sound right, maybe I'll work on this one, and then maybe back and forth I'll work on both. Because I like both versions, personally, but it's gonna be a while until I actually figure out what exactly I want to do with this. So, I'll resume the Q&A very soon. I want to show some stuff with that Die in a Fire that's pretty interesting to listen to. So when I worked on this thing, there's like different versions of this, because I was like trying to do some different approaches with this to make sure that maybe this is good or this is good and something like that. So this is the first like sketch like version that I worked on like when I first made Die in a Fire. Just very basic melody, very basic like sketches like, okay, this is what I want for the structure. Just like after I'm done, I'm basically copying the MIDI that I created or the sheet music and just try to work with something else with it. So it's like after I made the sketch, like I started to try different approaches with production. Because the way you make a song is that, the way you produce it is that in your head it sounds like it's going to be amazing, but once you actually lay it on paper and actually work on this, it's bound to sound different because you're bound to have so many instruments and so many different characteristics that are not going to fit in reality, because you might not have what you need, or you don't have exactly what you want, so you need to work against it. So I had like for the proof of concept, for example. Used to have a much more rocky tone, much more rock. Like it used to be much more like that, and then when I actually started production, it's bound to actually sound much more different. I think this is the one that actually sounds different too, and a different drop. actually started working on the thing, it actually sounded like what you guys hear now. So as you can hear, like there's no vocals yet, because what happens is that when I was working on the song, I wanted to wait on the vocals to be last recorded, so that way the singer can have a better idea of what she's singing of, basically, like in front of an instrumental, because you don't want to like let the singer sing in a very different tone, and then when you actually start working on the song, you see that something doesn't match, and you know, asking someone to do re-record again because it doesn't fit, it's kind of like, you know, kind of a weird question to ask, and sometimes it doesn't always work. So it makes sense to sometimes do things like this in a different process. The verses also sounded a bit different. Used to be a bit more baroque. And then when I actually started you just have like a different feel to it. And it wasn't until like I actually figured that, you know, maybe I should do like Nirvana, almost like basically more like Coldplay, in the sense that it's much more, you know, has more energy behind it in the verses. And that's when I actually settled on something different later on. We have more time for, do you guys have any more questions, or maybe you over there with the charts? Charts, okay.
What's the story behind your name? Like, how did you select your name?
Like the Living Tombstone?
Yeah.
I came about it like a long time ago. I was doing, I'm from Israel, by the way, for those who haven't noticed my weird accent. So when you're in Israel, like from the age of 18 to 21, you have to go through mandatory service or going through the military, basically. And well, during that time, I was like having a lot of breaks in between, so I was watching a lot of anime and shows and stuff like that. So one of the animes I watched was Black Lagoon. Finished watching that show. It's a good show, yeah. Finished watching that show, and at the end I was like, you know, it could be cool if I could envision like a fictional rock band, much like Gorillaz, where it's like in reality there's one person behind this entire project, which happens to be me, and that the idea of the band would be called The Living Tombstone. And at that time I was like, you know, I wasn't that talented to try to replicate everything to sound real and sound like a rock band and everything. So I very quickly got rid of the idea of making a band, but I decided to stick with the name because I thought the name sounded pretty cool. Like I didn't know much about the meaning behind this and stuff like that. I thought The Living Tombstone sounds like a very interesting name to boot, so I was like, just get that after watching the show. Any more questions? Yes.
Two parts, but separate things. Have you ever heard of Toho?
Yes, I have.
Do you like it?
More like the stuff that barge from it, like the everything from the kind of like whether it's the artwork, the songs that are so addictive.
And the second question, which is unrelated, is are you hyped for Fallout 4?
Ooh, that's it should be obvious, isn't it? For me, it's like I wasn't much of a fan of Fallout 3 just because it was it just ran on the freaking broken Oblivion engine, just the game I wrote, and I was like, you know, Fallout 4 runs on the new one, and it means that the game probably will be much more stable and there's new mechanics too. So for me, it's like I'm unbiased, so I'll wait for the game to come out first, and then once it comes out, I'll be like, okay, I'll play it. Sure. I'll wait for it to come first. More questions?
So some of my favorite songs by any artist are usually collaboratives. Have you been working on any other ones recently with anybody? And if you could pick someone who you've never worked on a collab with, who would it be?
Just in general, right? Like a collaboration with people. I don't know. Like these days, I'm trying to work more with myself, just because it's way cheaper and less, you know, less much of a hassle sometimes to try to work with someone else. But if it was like up to my selection, I would like to work with. You know, it might sound weird. I want to work with John Tron once because because of the challenge that comes behind picking out what genre would work for his voice, because it's much more like, you know, he has this, you know, the same characteristics of like an opera singer. So I want to like to see if there's a way to incorporate it in an interesting way so it sounds fun to listen to and it would be something that would work. Besides that, like people like, you know, Brendel Flaws, I mean, I actually want to work with them on something. We'll see how this goes. But in general, it's like if a certain artist can bring something different and not the same thing like I provide, like because everyone can technically sing and produce and do stuff, but if he provides something different, then that's the immediate challenge that I want to get and do receive.
Since JonTron, you know, has like an opera-sounding voice, he's also really into Nightwish, and I feel like combining, you know, orchestra, opera with metal, it sounds cliche as today, but it actually could work with doing something with JonTron. If you were to like try that kind of genre.
It would work. Alright, so yeah.
Is there a venue or sort of event you'd like to perform at?
The one thing I want to try to do next year, but that really depends on the budget and exactly how we come about this thing, and also depends on me if I make enough music. I want to do like a tour next year, like in the US or something like that, because I feel, because for the longest time it's like when it comes to performing in conventions, that conventions, even though it's fun to perform in them, it's like, I mean, I go to conventions too. It's like you go to a convention and you have to make a choice. You have to either go to a panel or go to someone who plays music, but you're not technically in tune to just the guy who performs there, if you get what I'm saying. It's kind of like, he's not the main event for you. There's many other things to do, so you're not focused on one single entity. You're focused on many things. So it doesn't feel like there's much of care for every specific thing. I don't know. It's very hard to explain what I go about. But basically, it's like conventions are like big festivals. There's a lot of people performing, and when you do like a tour and you only focus on one person, it's much easier to just be very focused on what you want to have in the show and not what people want to have from you. Let's see if I have maybe something interesting, because we have like about 6-7 minutes ish, because I want to give like 10 minutes to the next panel to start. Let's see if I have something interesting. So as you can see, it's like I have a big list of stuff that I worked on. Let's see if I have something specific that I could show. See if I have something here. Good to have like something really interesting, but I think. I don't know, like, I don't know. What I can do in this segment, if you maybe if you guys want, I can show you how I make music for like 5 minutes and stuff like that, and then close up. Oh, like I very quickly show how I do things. First of all, the freaking screen is so cramped and stuff. I don't know why. Let me see if I can fix that. No, I can't fix that. Oh wait, no, I know how to fix that. It's so stupid. There we go. Just stuck to a resolution that doesn't match my eyes. There we go. No, it's much more smaller. I mean, it's a bit like dark on the screen, but hopefully I'll be able to show like stuff clearly. So the way I work with music, I either start with the first instrument that comes to mind when it comes to the genre. So if it's like dance music, then I start with drums first. If it's like rock music, then I start with melodies and just composing things first, because it's a structure rather than much more about how to come about and produce something. But since dance music is usually easy to manage, just come up with something. I very quickly sketch out something just to show off something that I can do, and see how this goes. Again, I'm going pretty fast with this just because we don't have as much time to explain everything, so I'm sorry if I'm going to be a bit wide about this thing. So I'm going to put some hi-hats and cymbals and stuff. That could be pretty much it. I usually either keep it simple or just because a matter of time, like I don't have much stuff that I can edit. So
YouTube.
what? Sorry?
That put the one working on YouTube.
I mean, is this
Just like that 2-second clip.
It's not gonna be as good for YouTube stuff, I think. Alright. So the way I work, there's two ways I go about this thing. Usually I would actually go to something like Citrus and actually create my own sound by actually combining different sounds and trying to see if it modulates. So like let's say I put this one in and I try to modulate and put those two sounds together, like take a sine and EWM. You just see how it happens. Then
This reminds me of my school's computers. Sounds so great.
hold on. There you go.
Now you wait for the bass drop. Kidding, we're not really.
Up a bit.
9 minutes is gonna shut off.
So for those who are wondering more about production, this is called like this is basically a sidechain.
Tremolo.
Well, it's not a tremolo. It's more like for. I'll show you in a second what it does because it's pretty interesting. It's what a lot of DJs these days use to make music really rapidly, because it gives the effect of like if I just play it without it. Hold on. Oh yeah, sorry. If I put it with the kickstart, it basically adds a sidechain, which means it's gonna pump. It makes the pumping effect happen. So something like that. It's pretty interesting.
So what's it called again?
It's called Kickstart.
Kickstart?
Yeah, it's called Kickstart, but you can technically, like with FL Studio, you can do something pretty similar with Growthspeed, where you can basically create, the same lines like that, basically create like the same pumping effect with lines, basically, and that's like the free alternative. It's just that Kickstart is more like it's there, you can just put it in and it works, without and not like just do crazy things with it.
Yeah, I've always used the Fruity Limiter for a sidechain.
Fruity Limiter also works. It's just that it doesn't draw the crazy curves where it's like there's more space in between, so it adds more of a pumping effect. Because limiters, what they do is like, okay, it sees a sound, it just draws around that sound and not necessarily slow it down or give it a different peak to it or something.
Yeah.
So this one is just basically a very really easy tool to do it. So anyway, that's the end for now. Very glad you guys came to the panel for those who stayed. Thank you.
Bye, living tombstone. Bye.
Play the small song.